Am I to understand that Richard Dawkins has actually endorsed the intelligent design movement?
Well, in a sense, he has. It's very, very interesting, Kevin, that in the God delusion, Dawkins says that the God hypothesis is a scientific hypothesis and should be treated as such. It should be assessed by the normal canons of scientific theory assessment. And when I read that, my eyes popped up because I thought this is endorsing one of the central tenets of intelligent design, namely that intelligent design is a scientific theory. This is not a philosophical theory or a religious theory. It's science. And I don't know if even I agree with that. I mean, I tend to think of the inference to a designer as a philosophical or metaphysical inference, not as a new scientific theory. But Dawkins is quite different. He agrees with the intelligent design proponents like William Dembski and Michael Behe that the God hypothesis is a scientific hypothesis and should be assessed as such. Now, what that means is that Dawkins should agree that intelligent design should be taught and explored in science classes. It shouldn't be relegated to the religion class or to the philosophy class. It ought to be part and parcel of science classes on biology and astronomy and so forth. Now, maybe it will be refuted in those classes as a failed scientific theory, but as a scientific hypothesis, that is where it should be taught. That's where it should be assessed. So I find it ironic that Dawkins would actually be an ally of those who would testify in court cases that this belongs in the science classroom.
This tends to show that philosophy undergirds even the hard sciences. A lot of people think that they just don't meet at all.
That's absolutely right, Kevin. The question of whether or not intelligent design is a scientific hypothesis is a philosophical question. It's a question about the philosophy of science, the nature and the limits of science, and that isn't a scientific question, oddly enough. You can't perform any experiments to decide that question. This is a question that philosophers of science will decide. And therefore, again, it shows the relevance of philosophy to science.
For more resources like these from Dr. William Lane Craig, go to reasonablefaith.org. That's reasonablefaith.org.